My name is Sammy Ijaz, and I'm the host of House of Politics. House of Politics is a talk show that brings on government elected officials from councillors, mayors, MPPs, and MPs, and interviews them on, what they've done in the past, why they got into politics, and where they're headed in the future. Within these episodes, we will be talking a little bit about COVID as well. But today, I've got the honor of introducing the Honorable Associate Minister of Transportation, Kinga Surma. How are you, Kinga?
I'm very good. I'm very good. It's lovely outside today. I'm and very happy to be on the
The
show.
weather is definitely beautiful. I just wanted to firstly thank you for taking the time in Zooming with us. Kinga, I want to start off with the first question. I want to go right back to, where you were born, where'd you grow up, where'd you go to school? Tell me all about you.
Certainly, I was born in Poland. My parents came to Canada with me just being very little, approximately 4 years old, coming to Canada, my brother and my little sister, and starting a new life here. I grew up in Ottawa and wanted to explore, studied at the University of Guelph, also spent a year abroad studying in France, came back, moved to Toronto, and my first professional job right after university was working at City Hall when Rob Ford was mayor. I really loved my job. Politics wasn't necessarily something I strived to be involved in when I was younger. But
Right.
when I started working at City Hall, I just really loved it. I was learning so much. I really started to attach myself, so to speak, to Tobacco and the good people here. And it was actually Rob Ford, the former mayor, who encouraged me to one day put my name on a ballot. So I blame him. I'm just kidding.
And if I take you to that 2018 election, I know you ran for the MPP for Etobicoke Centre. How tough was that decision?
Well, I ran municipally before that in a municipal election, and that was my first try, and it was very, very difficult because with municipal politics, you're sort of independent, and you can have your team, but you're not part of a bigger team. So it was very, very difficult, but it was one of the greatest learning experiences of my life. And I
Right.
certainly challenged myself, and I wasn't successful. I came in second place, but I wanted to try again.
And
And
this
so
was 2010, I'm guessing, right?
yes, that's correct.
Right, for the city elections, and then and I guess city elections versus provincial, it's a different ball game, right?
It is. I mean, even representing provincially here in a Toronto riding, I mean, there's a lot of local issues that happen, and so you're very often working with your local councillor and or monitoring to see what's happening at the city level. But I love Etobicoke so much, and so when I had the opportunity to run again, part of a bigger team, I jumped on it, and I was fortunate enough to win the nomination. And of course, there were a lot of changes that year, but I was certainly happy to see Doug Ford, our Premier Doug Ford, win the leadership race, and now to be very honored to be a part of his team at Queen's Park today.
That's excellent. Now, what is that front burner concern in Etobicoke Centre that everybody's talking about on a provincial level?
COVID related or not COVID related?
You know what? Give me both. Give me one COVID, one not COVID, because I know people would definitely want to hear a little bit about COVID. So give me one COVID and one which is an actual concern for the actual riding.
Absolutely. In terms of COVID related concerns, a lot of very early on when the pandemic was first called and we had to close schools, this was a very big issue for my riding, because we have a lot of families here, a lot of young children, and so parents were very concerned about the remaining school year.
Right.
I invite, and because I know education is constantly very much top of mind for parents here in Etobicoke Centre, I invited Minister Lecce to do a teletown hall with me.
Right.
the premier joined in to say hello, but it was a conversation with Minister Lecce to give parents an opportunity to ask him questions. And we had over 10,000 participants. It was very well received because children are very important to parents.
Well, education is a key component of if we look at as a Canadian, not even just as an Ontarian, as a Canadian, education is something that we're very proud of, right? So that's extremely great that you guys did that. Now tell me, the Kinga Surma in 2018 versus today, what has changed? What have you learned? And that one accomplishment you're super proud of?
Well, I've learned this job is sort of you learn as you go. I've learned so much already in 2 years. I think the most important thing to note is team effort. And I love being a part of a team. Like I said before, this was an opportunity for me to be part of a bigger family, a bigger team. And so working with my colleagues, the members, and just it has just been really spectacular. And especially during the pandemic, we've really worked very well as a team together, really leaning on each other and even vetting one each other, make sure everything works and everything fits. I'm a young member, and I've never been elected to office before. So it's still very new to me, but I would just say that I'm just really proud of our premier during the pandemic and our team during the pandemic. I think he's shown exceptional leadership. And in terms of our accomplishments, if I have to pick something from transportation, I'm just very proud of our transit plan that we announced last year in April, and the partnership we formed with York Region and the City of Toronto, really showing people that different levels of governments can come together and work together for one common cause, which is the people, and doing what's right for the people, and easing their travel to work and appointments and all those other things.
Right. I know that you guys made 2 announcements yesterday. And when this show airs, it may be 2 days from the announcement, but I want to talk to you about the first announcement. I know Ontario introduces public transit safety guidance, a measure designed to keep passengers and employees safe as more people go back to work during COVID-19. Explain more on that. What exactly did you guys introduce, and how is that going to benefit the residents of Ontario?
Well, we certainly saw a massive decline in ridership during the pandemic because people were listening to our advice, which was to stay at home and work remotely as much as you can. Obviously does not apply to certain jobs, but we saw people were listening. We saw a drastic decline in ridership from our GO rail system. We saw a decline up to 93%, which is quite significant. And so as we started to speak about reopening the economy and reopening businesses and allowing for more activities, we also were very, very sure that we needed to make sure transit was as safe and as comfortable for people as possible. Prior to COVID-19, millions of people in the Greater Toronto area were relying on transit, whether it was GO or the local transit agency or TTC here in Toronto. And so we wanted to provide a consistent set of guidelines for transit agencies and municipalities that was carefully reviewed and discussed with the chief medical officer and public health officials, so that they could take some of these best practices, again, approved by our health experts, and implement them locally within their own transit agency. But one of the things I want to be clear, this is not mandatory, and we are not compelling anyone to do so.
So will people be penalized for it if, let's say, they don't follow it to the actual T? Will they be penalized for this?
Well, that's up to the municipality and the local transit agency to determine, because they can always implement additional measures. But what we wanted to do was we wanted to provide best practices, but we also wanted to be flexible, because as you know, the TTC may be very different from a transit agency in Northern Ontario or in Southwestern Ontario.
Right.
Different types of numbers, just different structures, different facilities, etc. And so we wanted to remain flexible, but we wanted to provide good practices and guidance. And so included in the document are guidance for transit operators, as for workers, as well as for passengers. And so as people are starting to have those discussions at home, whether and when they will be returning back to work, we want people to know that we are certainly working with other levels of government and
to ensure things work flawlessly.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Your second announcement, it's kind of interesting in that it's a loaded announcement, so this may take about 3 minutes for our conversation. Ontario moves forward with a signature subway project. Ontario line will help reduce congestion, drive economy growth, and job creation. Explain the signature subway project, as well as explain to me how this will reduce congestion, drive economic growth, and create jobs.
Absolutely. So the Ontario line is a 15.5 kilometer subway line, which will start at Exhibition Place, the southwest end, go through the city, and go all the way up to the Ontario Science Centre. And so it is double in terms of the distance of the previously proposed downtown relief line, which is something that the City of Toronto has discussed for a number of years. And it is a signature piece, and it's a very important piece because it will help reduce a lot of the congestion on Yonge Line. As you know, anyone who takes the subway knows very well that especially during before work and after, it's very crowded. Bloor-Yonge, it's very crowded, and at Union. And so this line is going to relieve a lot of pressure on Yonge Line, as well as Bloor-Yonge Station and Union Station, which will be a benefit to anyone taking a transit system. And I certainly think that its importance is highlighted today, because one of the things that people are very cautious about is the amount of overcrowding that we see on the TTC at the existing lines. And so,
and it's not even just TTC; it's just transit in general, right? Like there's just you know, GTA has so many people compared to any other place in Ontario, rather Canada, that you know the congestion is bound to happen, and the expansion is bound to be there. So you know, kudos to you guys on that project. Sorry, I cut you off, but keep going on.
No. But you're absolutely right. And so having that additional line is going to give people more options. It's going to reduce the crowding. It's going to give many neighborhoods along that stretch walking. They'll be in walking distance and be able to walk to a station, hop on the subway. It's going to make their lives much more convenient and easier and affordable, because if you live in an area where transit is not accessible to you, you're often forced to buy a car, which, as you know, adds to the traffic and congestion we have. And it certainly is environmentally friendly, because it will discourage people or remove the need for people to invest in a vehicle. So and it is something that the city has been working on for quite some time, and we used that information to build on it and provide a longer, I think, a more appropriate solution for today.
Right. Now, those two announcements were great. I want to talk about GO Transit expansion. So I'm a Miltonian, so I live in Milton. So I hear people and I talk to people. And I know that you're currently working on the Eglinton Crosstown extension and the GO Transit and many more transportation-related projects across the GTA. But when we look at Milton, so Milton obviously is within the GTA. So this is something that it's interesting. I would love to talk to you about. And if not the fastest town, it might be the fastest town in growth-wise in GTA. It's touching about 135,000 people. Projections are in the next 5 years, there's going to be a new community called Bowen, hitting another 50,000 people in 5 years. I know there was a new station that was planned in Milton. However, Metrolinx decided to focus on the 850 parking spots that they were, trying to build instead of a new GO station. And I know back in November 2017, the Provincial Transit Agency, along with then the Minister of Transportation, Stephen Del Duca, announced Ontario was moving forward with a full-scale expansion of the Milton GO station. And if we
Mm-hmm.
really look at the different GO stations, Milton does seem to have the least service. So my question to you as an associate minister, and
Mm-hmm.
that too with GTA, is what caused the new station to stop? And well, we haven't really seen much happening with the additional parking spots as well. So when can we expect the construction to start? And number two, what kind of goes into sort of like saying, you know what, we're not going to go ahead and create a new GO station or do a, you know, cut on an expansion on a GO? What goes into that? And it would be interesting to hear from you on, you know, because a lot of people have this question in their mind, but they don't really have an answer to it. So it would be nice
Mm-hmm.
to have something heard from you.
Well, I certainly agree with you that Milton is and has been growing very, very quickly. I certainly understand that point, and I just want to mention that our member from Milton, Parm Gill, very much an advocate for improved and increased transit into the Milton area, and we speak about this on a regular basis. So I just want to let you know that the member from the area is certainly working and always advocating for that. In terms of Milton, I mean, our government made a commitment to two-way all-day GO across key lines on the network. Milton is included in that, and so we certainly want to continue to make improvements, service improvements on all those segments. We've achieved a lot of improvements on many of our lines, such as Niagara, Lakeshore East. But I certainly understand that we have much more work to do. And actually, before the pandemic, and we had 29 infrastructure projects that were going on right across the province of Ontario so that we can get to that goal. A lot of track signaling work, bridge work. I mean, we were tunneling right under the 401 here in North Etobicoke so that we can add additional track and lanes for lanes for additional servicing to Kitchener, which is also an area of great need. Well, so I certainly recognize that there is more work to be done, but it's not as simple as an answer as just adding trains onto the existing rail. In a lot
because that's the thing, right, Kinga, that if we, let's say, add 850 parking spots to Milton, that causes more traffic to come into the actual GO station, which the GO station can't handle. So the expansion on that would, you know, with the parkings may not work, but with a new station, it might actually help. So I'm actually curious. I know Parm is the member of parliament here, Parm Gill, member of provincial parliament. What exactly is Parm saying? Like, what is he advocating for? What have you heard? What is he trying to get done with the expansion on the GO? Or how is he? Did he have a plan in play, or is it just like I want to work hard and make sure that you know, GO is getting better? You know, like is it just like I want to work harder, or is it an actual plan in play?
No. He certainly works hard, but I mean, he is constantly requesting updates on the matter. He's constantly asking about timelines. He's constantly asking if what he needs to do to help, and so he is working very hard. He understands very well how much the demand is and how great the need is for improved and increased services along Milton. And I can speak to that because he is constantly pushing and advocating, doing his very job that the people elected him to do. In terms of our overall structure of how we assess these projects, I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into it. There's a lot of constant reviews, ridership numbers, demand, you know, what work needs to go into, you know, whether or not to add business cases, what other infrastructure work needs to be done. So construction can be quite complex, and you need to continue and costly and also you need to continue the service as much as possible. So we can't just stop a line to do some work. People rely on it to get to work on an everyday basis. So quite a lot of planning goes into it. But certainly I hear the signal you're sending my way, and
Yeah,
I
please.
certainly recognize that.
Yeah, my take would be if Parm is, bringing this up, it might be, up to you to really, focus a little bit on Milton, because Milton is I'm saying, like, they're building homes on homes on homes. I don't know if you ever drove here, but it's like hometown. There's nothing else but homes. So
Well,
and there's
I have gone to Milton on a few
yeah, so
occasions,
it's
but I
heavy.
understand.
So I want to ask you this question. I want you to finish this sentence. Transportation is
Getting wherever you need to go quickly, but also affordably.
fantastic. Kinga, I want you to tell me, what do you hope to achieve in 2020?
Well, I think what I hope to achieve is something that everybody would like to see. I would really like to see us getting back to normal everyday life. I think the pandemic has really been tough on people, tough on them financially, tough on people that have been sick, and tough on families. And the sooner we can really contain the virus as much as possible, I think the happier everyone will be, because everyone wants
Absolutely.
to open their business again, and everyone wants to sort of go back to some sort of normalcy. So I certainly, that is our priority, and we're trying to get there as quickly as possible. And I want to build really build subways in the Greater Toronto area. I think now more than ever, we can appreciate how important it is to really have a comprehensive transportation network, so that should there ever be this similar circumstance, people aren't as afraid to return to transit in such a dense city, because there's a lot of options available to them. So I certainly want to move
absolutely.
forward.
And Kinga, I think there will definitely be a second wave, and to be prepared for that second wave is key, right? So, but you know what, Kinga, I just want to thank you so much for your time. I know that taking your time out to doing interviews and answering questions is not always easy, especially with cabinet meetings and so much going on, especially now with COVID. So I really, really appreciate you, as well as I would just want to thank you on behalf of myself, as well as Canada One TV.
Thank you so much. And I just want to clarify something. So the 2010 municipal election was when Mayor Rob Ford became mayor of the city of Toronto.
Yes.
I'm correct? I ran in the municipal election 4 years after. So I'm sorry if I made
14.
that mistake.
No, that's okay. Look, people, I tell you, Kinga, I think people are more interested in the two announcements you've made and your journey from where you were born, where you grew up. I mean, a lot of people are always curious, where did the minister grow up? Where did they go to school? They never really get the insight. So don't even worry about that specific 10 or 14. They know right now that you're the Associate Minister of Transportation, and you're doing whatever you can in your capacity to make the city, make the province a better place, right?
Yes, and I just want to wish everyone a wonderful weekend, and to be safe and healthy, and just know that we're doing everything we can to keep you safe.
I appreciate you so much, Kinga. Thank you so much. There you have it. That's all the time we have for today. Please keep watching House of Politics on Canada One TV. And if you ever have any questions or concerns that you guys want to email us, the email is info@canadaone.tv. Leave your comments in the box below, because we love reading your comments. Thank you so much.